It's nice, yes, yes, yes.
I enjoyed seeing your PTO meeting with your first graders performing. That was really nice. Good to see the parents out.
Yes.
That was very nice. Everybody seemed comfortable with your campus.
We had good participation.
Good, good. We're just going to have a conversation back and forth, nothing technical, just discuss different issues. If I do not ask a question, go ahead and ask that question and discuss that with me also. Let's begin with the class sizes. It may be concerns of some of your teachers. What do you think about that? How are you going to address that issue with class size?
Did that come directly from the teacher working conditions?
It did. It did come from that.
And what is the question with that?
What do you think you can do about your overcrowding of your classrooms?
We're keeping them within the state parameters.
Mm-hmm.
And we're modifying as best we can, but we still have a population size that we cannot do anything about.
Okay. And which population is that?
Total population.
Total population.
The
Okay.
size of the total school.
Okay. What about your professional development on how to deal with those large classes, and then professional development with math and reading specifically? What are your plans for any professional development for your teachers?
We have not expanded professional development as much as we needed to,
Mm-hmm.
and that may be one of the concerns. Is there anything at the district level that is on tap?
Yes, we can send our math specialist and our reading specialist out to do some professional development as well, and that'll keep your costs down. So you do not have to put out any professional development monies for that, which I understand you are very tight on your budget.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that we discussed that. So if you will contact them and get them on the schedule for next year, early in the year, earlier the better. If we could get something set up for that first week while teachers are coming back, even if it's a half a day, let's get them started. Let's get a jump on that, okay? What about your subgroups in your math and reading? Is there any concerns there?
We are struggling in our Hispanic subgroup and really struggling in our African American subgroups for mathematics particularly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there is really a need for differentiation for instruction.
Okay. What kind of need?
I think we need to have as many smaller groups as possible. I think we need to have some type of expertise from outside of our school, if not the district, to give us different strategies in how to bring those scores at proficiency and above proficiency, if at all possible. I think we need to also identify why that score is so low. In some areas, they are twice below what the state averages are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you are thinking about possibly bringing in some university folks that have their hands on the pulse of our education system.
I think university collaborators would be very good, as well as professional educators, as well as colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
as well as teacher leaders, both inside and outside of our district, which could identify our concern and then to give us reasonable solutions to alleviate our concerns. Each element in each school is different, and not all solutions work in all schools the same way. Even though there may be good solutions, they do not always have similar results.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that visiting other schools may be an assistant for you, both your teachers, your lead teachers, and you personally and professionally?
To get ideas from other establishments would be good.
Okay.
I think it would be a good start.
If you could get me some schools that you would like to visit, why you would like to visit there, what programs are they doing that we're not doing? that would be wonderful, and go ahead and put that in a plan.
Okay.
For us, to examine, so we can, possibly look at that with my executive staff, and let's see which ones are more valuable,
Okay.
which ones are more viable, and where we can actually do that for you. Okay? They're very good, very good. What about your level 5? We've talked about your lower subgroups. What about your level 5s students? Do you plan to hire an AIG teacher, a gifted ed teacher, or what is your thoughts on that?
We do not have that perspective in the budget right now because our budget is really tight, And I don't know if Title I would help us out with that since we are a Title I school.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something we would have to see if that were possible. Is that possible?
That is possible. I see that you have 2 Title I teachers.
Yes.
So I will look into that, and I will get one of my assistant superintendents to get back with you that deals with the Title I. So let me look. Oh, excuse me. I'm reading that incorrectly. You have 2 Title I teachers. I'm sorry, I was reading that incorrectly. We'll see what we can do with that. See how we can facilitate that for you. What are your changes that you think you need to improve, or excuse me, the changes that you are going to implement in teacher planning? I'm looking back at your teacher working conditions survey. So what are your ideas about that?
I think, according to what I remember and what I did review in that survey, the question or the sentiment was that we had some concerns from our teachers relative to materials and the usage of equipment and for technology. I think we could do some cross-curricular training as well as some same time planning periods for teachers to share and to collaborate with one another. So those are just some initial steps that we could do as far as teacher working conditions were concerned.
I think we can look at possibly carrying a half-a-day sub for you folks. For each grade level, we'll get half-day subs, and so that they can collaborate. They can do collaborative quarterly planning, just to go ahead and set up that quarterly planning, and then on their PLC time, then they can do the more in-depth planning. So we can try that. See if we can't find that money for that. That's a good way to go. And then, how do you plan to do that follow-up with that teacher planning and that professional development? How do you plan to see if that's going to help with your student growth?
If we could come up with some type of expanded data sheet and some questionnaires from the staff, I think that would be a good cumulative tool to use as far as whether or not the processes were working or where we needed to make some different changes.
Okay. One thing I have seen in other school districts is some call it data rooms, some call it data walls, where they have all the students and they give them a letter or a number. And so if somebody should walk in, nobody's going to see a name connected. But then they're reds and greens and yellows and blues, for the all levels, and you can, when you're in that room, you can see automatically. You don't have to keep going back. And if your internet is down that day, it's right there on the walls.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a wasted planning. Let's see if we can't get somebody out there to start helping you with that data.
Okay.
And organizing it, putting it up on the walls.
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, is this something that should be maintained for a quarter or semester or all year?
All year.
Okay.
All year, because you want to be able to track that information as you go through that year and see who's fallen, who's slipped. So when you do your benchmarks for second quarter and somebody slipped, you know, that's gonna tell you, you need to do, some review with that child.
Okay, I see.
You know, even though it's a good student, they may not grasp those concepts in that section. So that would be a good thing for you folks to do. Tell me about your community. What are your community relations? How can we get that improved?
We have a tight-knit community. I think the community wants to support us, and generally speaking, they do. However, we're not in a high-wealth community area. Our community economic and stability is basically not expanded educational-wise, but we're in low wealth, and they're below usually a high school diploma or below. Their transportation needs are great. Therefore, even though they support us, there's not, the spirit of support is there, but there's not an overpowering and overflowing of coming out to the school, and I think that's primarily because of the transportation needs that are evidenced in the community.
Is there a, like a community center, a community church that will allow you to go in and hold community meetings in each one of those?
We don't have one large enough in that area.
Okay.
If we were to use one of the smaller churches, that it would necessitate several meetings.
Okay.
And they would have to be probably grade meetings. We could not have a combined resource of 3 through 5 to meet.
Okay. We'll look into that and see what we can do with that. Even if we have to have, you know, smaller community meetings, you know, across levels. But say for this community, we'll have it here, and this community will have it here, and this, but provide the same information to the parents, just to get them starting to get active. Your SIT meetings, are the members elected?
Yes.
I need to check that
Yes,
off.
they are.
Okay,
Yes,
so
they
they
are.
are elected.
Yes, they are.
And you do have good leadership in place?
Yes, very good. I think they are good. They are dedicated. There is some transition between what is written in the plan and the execution of the plan.
Okay.
There is some transition there, but I think if we can identify and expand specifics in the plan, that may be able to help us in our overall responses to getting our data where it should be.
Okay. One last thing that I want you to just start thinking about. I'm thinking about asking principals at the next principal meeting to develop a new system in reporting our student behaviors. I don't think as a district we're doing that as a whole very well. We're just sending in numbers. Just sending in numbers.
Yes.
There's no reasons involved or anything like that. So I think we need to get down into the nitty and the gritty of what we're doing. What do we do for the out-of-school suspensions? What do we do for in-school suspensions? You know, get some more information. So I want you to be thinking about that when we come up to our next principal meeting. You know, start thinking about that so you can have some good ideas. Start that conversation with the rest of the teachers, of the principals.
So, yes, and to a limited degree with the parents and students.
Exactly. So start thinking about that, jot down some ideas, and let's bring them out and let's talk about that. Before I go, I just want to let you know, you're a very strong leader.
Thank you.
You have a great retention rate. Your reading data is better than your math data, but they both need to be improved. And I think that area of improvement would be on increasing that rigor of that instruction, rigor of the homework, looking at the parents and what the students are saying, that they feel a little bored with that. So let's increase that rigor of that homework a little bit more in depth. And then in August, we'll look at our professional development plan and see how we can really increase that. Okay?
All right.
Any questions that you have for me, sir?
I think they have been gone over. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that self-assessment first, and I appreciate your feedback on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.